Travis Wingate. So, news report this time around. ABC4 News Utah has a number of articles dealing with abuse and bullying and violence by bullies. So we get to do a video on it. The first one that I came across on the YouTube's ABC4 Utah channel was about the police incident back in May. I'm very disappointed that ABC4 News reporting are being forced to call it violent protests. It was the police who were violent that day, and ABC4 News Utah even had the video exclusive coverage of it. That's what the article or the video was about the man with a cane, elderly, getting shoved to the ground by the officer. And I saw the video. I made the clip of him seeing the old man, and you can see the hesitation as he then contemplated doing the act, and he went right after the old man and shoved him to the ground. They don't show that part in their clip today. They show the part where he comes after him and pushes him down. What is disturbing is that they're not going to press charges against the police officer, despite the video footage. The man himself didn't want to press charges either. But this is where executives, the police, government officials, prosecuting attorneys need to step in on behalf of the victim. Because a victim of abuse, of a crime, are not thinking clearly. One reason is that they minimize it, embarrassed and ashamed that this happened to them. And so they need somebody to step in on their behalf, to say, no, what happened to you was not your fault, it's not acceptable, we're taking over for you to punish this person or group of people. But in this case, it's a police officer during police protesting. That's what the protests were about. Abusive police officers, and police decided to be abusive against the protesters of police violence. And so for the state to say, no, cop did nothing wrong, he's innocent, just doing his job. No, he was not doing his job. It was excessive force. The other thing is that victims of abuse are afraid of further retaliation. Because, case example, they're likely to get away with it, not be punished for their crimes against the victim. And so, if the victim files a police report, the person's going to know and come back to get revenge and be a more intense bully and violent abuser. And so that's another reason why those in the positions of authority need to step in, especially when it's authority that's doing the abuse. But that does not happen in Bully, Utah. The next one is that there's an officials see widespread reports of pretty violent domestic violence cases. And this has been going on throughout coronavirus. That's not the one I wanted. as people are forced to stay home in the beginning, and they're not given sanitation, they're not given food, then they're forced to go into the public, risking exposure to get food. And then Herbert opens up businesses too soon, forcing businesses to open, forcing businesses to hire back people, forcing businesses to expose their employees and customers to the infection. This is extortion. And it's the use of a viral weapon as part of the threat. You help the economy, or you suffer financially. And at the same time, it's a no-win situation. You go to work, you risk getting exposure, like Russian roulette, or you stay home and you die, because we got no extra stimulus, did we? And the news is not news when it says leaders, senators or congressmen are hopeful they'll make a decision before Friday. Yeah, that's not news. Thoughts and prayers, hopes and desires are not news. Feelings are not news. The facts are the news. But we have a news system crisis as the news refuses to cover the facts. We want to keep spreading emotions and other things. I'm looking for one. I'm seeing a bunch of sports things. BYU beats St. John's. BYU in talks to play at Coastal Carolina. I mean, seriously, in talks? That's not news. The results of those talks are the news. And here again, Rudy Gobert hoping for the best season yet. Oh, yay. Grandma Anderson says her pies are the best. She hopes people will agree. News at 11. I mean, this is not news. News is supposed to be boring. It's supposed to rely on us to put the facts together, if they're not going to do it, so that we can do it for ourselves to see what's really going on and how it's affecting our lives. And they never go after the church. Nobody investigates the church. The church is innocent. But this is what happens during coronavirus. And so those who go to work are stressed. Those who stay home are stressed. And if you're the breadwinner, you've got added stress because of your spouse who's dependent on you. If you've got children, extra stress because they're dependent on you. And as they extort again, opening schools and now having to close them, well, who's going to take care of those kids? You're forced into the job market. And so yes, stress and tension gets higher, caused by the failure of this government, failure by this church. Who are setting the wrong example, who are extorting the government themselves. Get our church open, taking away our agency, and thus church becomes a super spreader event. It's just horrific. That this is the season of bullying, the season of abuse, the season of domestic violence, the season of extortion. And the news is all playing a part of it as they're trying to downplay the seriousness. I mean, to call it violent protests, that's all bullies know. They do not respond to peaceful protests. They sent in the police in the first place. They were provoking violence. That's what bullies do. And if you haven't caught on, that's what's trying to happen now. Is everybody's trying to provoke America into a civil war. And it's not working entirely. And so more is yet to come to provoke us to that end. That's what they do. That's what's going on in Georgia right now. They're trying to provoke Georgia into violence to stop the election. Because that's what they do. That's what Utah does. That's what the police are trained to do. They are trained to escalate. And when the person falls for it, the cops got him. Oh, you're attacking a police officer. That's a third-degree felony. Resisting arrest. And it was a trap. A trigger trap is what it's called. It's been that way long before triggering became a thing and an actual name title to call it. This is bullying behavior. This is Utah. And so that's disturbing. So that's the underlining message that ABC 4 News Utah is not admitting to.